Okay, so we've already in the previous level one, we've looked at dimensions in a sort of a minor way in model space. We've looked at it. However, the ideal world, you're going to pop dimensions in paper space. Now we haven't looked at paper space viewports or anything yet, but we're going to have our first look at layout tabs, if you like. So if I kind of look here at the bottom left, we've got model, casting, and example 2. If you remember, and you've probably seen it 101 times in your when you create a new drawing from scratch, you'll see model, layout 1 and layout 2. Well, these other two tabs, casting and example, are just basically layout tabs renamed. If I right click on it, you can actually come in and rename these tabs anything you want. So they've been renamed casting and example 2. And if you see what's in them, if I again go back to model space and have a little look, that's currently all that we've got drawn in model space. If I go to casting, you'll notice that this example 2 doesn't appear, and then if I go to the example 2 tab, you'll notice that none of this appears. So I go to casting, you see example 2 is not visible there, and in example 2 we can't see the rest of the casting. So we'll look at how you can actually manipulate viewports in Paperspace in the next section. For now, we'll kind of just take it for granted that it can be done, and again, this is just a dimensioning exercise. Okay, so we're happy enough to kind of just be able to select the two layouts and see them already laid out for us and set up. Okay, now a few little things before you actually get into dimensioning that you need to know and set up. When I'm in this first layout tab, you'll notice Paperspace down here on the status bar. If I double left click in that viewport area, so in this little sort of drawing window area, you'll notice that this changes to model space. My little UCS icon changes back to a model space icon. Don't know if you noticed it before, but if you look, it has that little triangle just letting you know that you're in Paperspace. Double click and it turns back to our standard model space UCS. So around here, and if you look, I can't, my crosshair won't kind of go out and select anything else. If I'm in Paperspace, double click back in here, or we can kind of click between model and paper here. So that's paper, that's model space. Click again. Lots of ways we can kind of click between model space and Paperspace. If I'm out here, if you look, I actually can't access anything that's done in model space because I'm in Paperspace. The layout's actually in Paperspace, so if I wanted to delete all this, if I could, or modify it in any way. However, if I double left click in here, now I can't select the sheet, but I can select and delete whatever I want, or move or change things in drawings in model space. So save me actually going from model to flicking like that all the time. I can actually go from in here and I can zoom in and modify that as I would. Now you'll notice as well the reason I can actually zoom in is because this viewport's locked as well, so it's important that you leave that locked, otherwise it'll change the scale of your drawing for you. And we'll have a little look at changing the scale in a little moment. But firstly, I kind of just want you to have a little look at the first dimension. I'm going to go to Annotate tab and pop in a linear dimension from here to here. So this is kind of important as well. So if you look at that, I've got that, and it's telling me that's 30 long. Well, I know that's not 30. If I go back into model space and pop another linear dimension on from within model space, it's 120, and I know that's correct. So it's 120 long. Why am I getting the difference in measurements between model space and Paperspace? Paperspace is not going to be much good to me if it's going to give me the wrong dimensions. Well, if you look at that 30, and if I double left click on that viewport again to get back in here and remind you of the scale, it's 1 to 4. So it's actually scaling that down. Reason being, I got an A4 sheet here, that's all I can print out on, and I need to be able to see all of this drawing on that A4 sheet, so I've had to scale it down. So if I unlock that and change it to scale 1 to 1, if I did scale to 1 to 1, it just wouldn't physically fit. So if I go back and change that 1 to 4, I know it'll fit. 1 to 2 won't fit. Let's try it. Yeah, it just won't fit on there. We could move those items a bit closer, but it still won't fit. So go back and select 1 to 4 from my drawing, and then make sure to lock it again so it's locked in place. Okay, so that's the first little thing, is the dimensions. How do we get them to actually measure correctly? Well, there's a system variable, and if I come back in here, so if I come back in here, there's a system variable, dim_assoc. Oops, get that again. Dim_assoc head return, and I need to change the value of dim_assoc to 2. Now I'm going to post a little the explanation on the whole dim_assoc system variable, and I'll actually just do a demonstration of what it actually does here. So by changing it to 2, what it'll actually do for me now is if I pop in that linear dimension again, it's intelligent enough now to know that we've got this scaled. So it's attached itself to that component, and it knows that it now actually measures 120, as opposed to what it was putting in before was the actual finished drawing size, if you like, what it was going to print out at 30. So make sure you set dim_assoc to 2 before you start this into this exercise. Also, what it does as well, just on a little side, if I go back into model space, so while I'm in here in model space, and the beauty of putting dimensions in paper space is that, and even see that little example 2 word in that one, shouldn't really be there. You should really just keep this for your model objects only. So when I come in here, if I decided I wanted to stretch that, so say I want to make that 20 mil longer, stretching it 20 mil longer, I don't have to worry now, because my dimensions are associative. I don't need to go back and check the casting. Trust me, it's updated. Okay, you don't trust me, so I'll go to casting, and there it is. It's updated to 140. Okay, so go back again into model space. So you can see I've got a nice clear run on the component, and you can imagine when I start filling in lots of dimensions on this that it's going to get cluttered very quickly, and it'll become sort of an awkward thing to modify. But because I've got the dimensions in paper space, it doesn't come in here and doesn't clutter up my model. Go back to casting, it's come back to 120. Okay, so it's intelligent to know when I change something, it'll automatically change the dimensions with it. So that's the dim_assoc system variable, and something that you need to kind of set up first. I'm going to delete that dimension from the drawing before I kind of move on. So dim_assoc, make sure you set dim_assoc to 2 before you move on to the next.